Brenda Cruz. Here. Sue McCauley.
Here.
Gina Paulson.
Here.
Richard Radke.
Here.
Josh Roush. Beth Stephen Woodall.
Here.
And you have a form.
All right. I'll look at adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes or corrections?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to adopt the agenda. So moved. By Beth. And second by Brenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Public hearing to consider bids for bakery and deli.
Just call the public hearing open at.
Just open at 6:31.
So here's the bids that we've received for the bakery, Casey's Bakery, and then Pano Gold Baking Company replied with no bid letter,
And Bimbo.
and Bimbo, same thing.
They replied, but they said.
Just no bid.
Yep. And then we had our dairy bids, we had Kemp's out of Lamar's, and then the pricing there, and then Prairie Farms Dairy out of Sioux Falls, with their pricing there as well. I know Kim and her team really liked Prairie Farms this year. The year before, there were a lot of the cartons were leaking milk and continuous cleanup, and I think that was from Kemp's, is what we had
We had that
previously.
too.
I don't know if there was a malfunction in there, but it was a lot better this year compared to what it had been. So Kim and her team were very happy with Prairie, and they are cheaper, of course.
Were those the two that we had last year? Was there a Minnesota in here?
I don't
No,
think
or is
so.
that the two the ones we've had in the past?
These are the two.
Okay.
Now, Kemp's has gone back and forth with their, used to be Dean Food.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
That's
Yeah.
the name changes.
So the corporate could have been in a different spot. Prices are up about 50 to 60 cents, but overall, yeah.
Do you need separate motions or all in one?
Yep, separate.
So a motion for bakery products.
One motion.
To accept which? Or that's
Except the
the only
Casey's
one?
Bakery,
Okay,
sorry.
so John's made a motion to accept the Casey's Bakery, and Richard has seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And a motion for the dairy product.
I'm going to accept the Prairie Farms dairy bid.
Brenda has made a motion for Dairy Farms.
Second.
And second by Beth. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Public hearing closed at 6:33. Okay, we'll continue with our welcome. Do we have anyone to address the board?
You do not.
Consider consent items, minutes of previous meeting, which was May 23rd, our regular meeting. I didn't catch any changes, but maybe somebody else did. It's all right to me.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Motion by John, second by Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Next consent item is financial reports, financial statements. You're on, Aaron.
All right, go time, huh? I guess not a whole lot to report this month. Just kind of a busy office in the month, getting end of year expense payroll on the books and end of year invoicing and cash receipts and trying to manage reminder, just be thinking about, general fund, you know, if you look at that comparison sheet that's on there, I forget which page number it is, yeah, there you go. You can tell we're probably trending a little bit high on the general fund, compared to our budget on there, so something to keep an eye on. Of course, you know, once everything hits the books here in June, it's gonna look significantly different than it does now, but, you know, kind of looking that way that we may be a little bit high as far as general fund expenditures. And then, we've kind of also talked about too, nutrition fund, we've got a very large balance in that account. As well, of course, you know, over the last 2 years with, federal reimbursement for the student lunches and stuff, so, that's something to do. I know we've been tossing around ideas of what exactly can you spend the money on, what can we do with it, so on and so forth, but, something to keep an eye on, I guess, there.
Is that something that, I mean, I'm assuming our meal prices or our commodity prices are gonna continue to get higher. So I mean, that will probably help with that.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm looking at the prices in the grocery stores now and there's no way it's gonna go down.
Yeah. you
So
would-
that'll probably help there. And did I see that it's extended again? The lunches?
No.
No.
It's not extended.
So what was that all about?
Where
Like
did
they
you see
just,
it at?
well, for summer,
Oh, summer, yes.
So we try to get it for summer,
correct.
but for the areas that we have school, we do not qualify. So this year we could not, so like it only looked at Primgar and
Yes.
Paulina as the areas, and we did not hit that threshold to provide it anyway.
Gotcha, okay.
We tried to find some loopholes, but it was gonna be more work than it was, you know, good. The best thing that we had last year was when we were able to offer the free and reduced, the summer lunch program for the summer school kids. That's where we had the most kickback last year, is we fed all those kids.
Yeah.
This year, since we weren't getting that federal funding, we just decided to give them some snacks, and they were fed, it just wasn't
Gotcha.
a whole meal. But we did look into that, so like Deanne Murphy, I contacted her multiple times, and just, it was not gonna work for where we were at, so.
Okay.
Now, if we were in like, one of our buildings was in like Calumet, we could've offered it, you know, because they meet
Because they
that threshold,
need
yeah.
That's funny how they do that.
It
though.
is.
But it has to be where your school building is, so I've learned a lot about
Well,
how they.
because it was
how they break-
actually in a USDA report
Yep,
that it was extended through just September or something, so that's why I kind of wondered how that would be affected.
mhm.
Okay, any other questions about the financial statements?
Motion to approve the financials.
Motion by Sue,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Consider payment of invoices. By now, are we starting to see some of the savings we were hoping through the copier things?
Yeah, we have seen that, we are gonna make a recommendation to, control colored copies.
Yeah.
You did see that there was, with the transition with Microsoft, with the printing issues, it defaulted to one of our copiers as color, so we got charged quite a bit. So we needed a management system, and, we'll bring that to you, soon. It's just we're waiting for that, to get in there, but that should help. And basically what it is this key card will make them print. So they'll scan this, and then you can set parameters per individual employee of what they can and can't print. So they can give them 100 color copies, and then once they go over that, it stops. Per month.
That's not uncommon for those of you that work control too.
Well, and another thing is, which I think some of it's gonna be difficult for some of our staff, but when you send a job to print, it won't print until you scan your card. Which is gonna be difficult for some of our employees, but it does, help us with that confidentiality, especially when we're printing IEPs and things like that, where we need to make sure that those things are kept confidential. A lot of times people print and they leave stuff just sitting there.
Yeah.
Well, now it'll,
Routines are routines.
yeah. And I talked to, Terry up at Spencer, they've gone to that, and he said they would never go back. It's just helped out tremendously with confidentiality, so.
You don't envision that some of the color stuff will then rest on families, or do you?
No, I think our staff can be a little bit more creative and use the technology that they have to differently. I don't know if we have to print everything off in color.
No.
Yeah, I just hope that it doesn't
Yeah,
shift
and I
from
hope
the
not.
school
That they don't
expense to
make families
do
think
it.
they have to.
Do it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that we can think a little differently on how we do some of those things, especially since every kid has a device now. Things can be a little bit different. Now,
Present
when
it,
some
don't
things
print
get sent home in their final product and they need to have that color for, yeah, we'll work with them on that, but nothing outrageous where everything needs to be in color.
Yeah. Hope we can make sure that's emphasized.
Yeah.
Any other questions with the invoices? I lost my questions before. Okay, motion to approve those from Brenda,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Did you say I could skip the next one? No board committee reports at this time, so we'll move on down to reports. District discipline report.
Mr. Moran, you're up. Okay.
All right, and I'm just going to allude to, I've got a lot of data onto our chart here with the South O'Brien Elementary Discipline Report that I have. If you end up looking really at a trend that we had, Mr. DeZeo started off as a regular interventionist, dean of students, whatever, and the two of us set a tone that we really wanted to go and set a high bar to start the year off. And if you looked at the data, especially if you look at average referrals per month, that's on you, I believe, there we are, right here. You can see that what we have here, the first semester for September, October, and November especially, we are a little higher than the year before. And remember, again, some of this is that's going to play, that takes into accountability or account with this year's data compared to the year before. Year before, remember, playground. Kids were not allowed to play with each other. We were keeping them in different zones. And I'm going to allude to a couple other things that popped up. But again, we are, if you see our data here, again, overall for the first semester, our referrals were probably about an average as it typically would have been. Our second semester was phenomenal. We had very, very low referrals from January through May. And again, our PBIS program that we have, the rewards, we kind of went with a different type of different type of reward type of system of doing a little bit more shorter reward for getting a little bit more of our bang for our buck there. We did inflatables, we did a couple different activities with the roller skating, we threw bowling into there for the second semester, and those seemed to go very, very well for us. So a couple things, so anyway, for the report, that's overall, if I had to explain things for the year. The things also I wanted to go to, again, we saw a couple things that popped up that went a little bit higher this year. If you look at the last, toward the end, it says referrals by problem behavior. And referrals by, be the next, there we are, by problem behavior. Again, we end up having that defiance. We had more physical contact, and also we end up having some more inappropriate language being utilized with our kids when they end up having things happen, some meltdowns. The physical contact, again, is correlated with things happen at the playground bit. Again, we keep it as safe as we can, but the kids were playing together. Again, the year before, they were not playing together. So those were a couple of things, and just also, I'm just saying, I see a little bit, we set that high bar as high as we can with the language, but we also know our public, the language, if we've been in situations and places that we know language is not probably as appropriate or supported by parents as much as it typically has been. We've had more profanity, but also we dealt with it. So So anyway, I wanted to go and give you that information. I wanted to go to the last page here with the report on the problem. I wanted to make sure that you understood what the last one is the graphs. This is a different program with JMC. So again, when we give you that data, that includes the subsections of minors, majors, all. But anyway, and I'll have you go down a little bit on this. Actually, I'd go down the sheet above that. Just want to remind, and just a little bit more where they'll get the numbers.
Okay.
Just there we are. Bus incidents, those are considered minors. The first time they get written up and the second time they get written up. The third time they end up getting a write-up for the bus is the major, because that automatically goes to a bus suspension. So I just wanted to make sure, so when you see the numbers here, ultimately it's 159 referrals, but only 135 majors. That's the lowest that we've had. And again, you can see the different type of activities, and this is where typically, again, you can see some physical aggression as a major, and defiance were the ones that were higher with our majors. When we look to the next sheet, then we look at what I end up doing. These discipline, this was all handled by me for the majors with the discipline. So anyway, we've gone from everything from, there's two sections on this. So that number is 318. When I enter in discipline, how I handle the discipline, there's what's the first thing you did with your discipline, and what's the second thing? Parent contact is always something I end up doing. So, and there's sometimes so if it's, again, the parent contact typically with a phone call, or if I am not able, I end up leaving a message, or they do automatically get they get an email on every referral that we handle. So again, you can see that we end up having, with in-school suspensions, I only out of school suspended 12 times. That's kind of been typical. I've had some lower years that we've been in about the single digits. I've been as high as, I believe, 1 year I've been in about 20 is the most I've ever had for out-of-school suspensions. Again, the out-of-school suspension is the last resort that we possibly look at also. And again, loss of privileges. I still utilize a lot of students, keeping them out of a recess. They're going to be in with me for a study hall. They miss some type of activity. And again, some of the kids that we have for recess, I want to make sure that's the worst thing I can take from them. And again, some of them, we just want to make sure that they get out some of that physical activity also. But those are the ways that I handle the discipline referrals. And you can see also with in-school suspension, I was just trying to read half a day in-school suspension, and I believe the other one was, so ultimately I gave 12 in-school suspensions also, where the kids were in my office or with Mr. DeZeo for the half a day or for the full day. Let's see here. We didn't have, again, a couple other things just because technology really wasn't something. The year before we had more technology issues, but again, I think it might have been something because the kids were they didn't get to go outside and play with each other or so, but and also our, I guess the way that the kids, we had that 1 year that our firewall, kids were getting through. They could type in kind of a bad word and stuff would pop up. We really tightened all those things up with our tech coordinator. Again, parent contact, I really can't think of anything. We've probably had, I'm going to say probably about, if I had to go and say with parents, that, having that parent meeting, a couple, concerns that were the parent, we really couldn't get onto the same page. They were upset or something like that. Again, overall though, the parent communication's been very, very positive. One of the other things I also wanted to let you know, if you saw, I forgot to note this before this, this is also the first time that our 6th grade has not led with referrals. And shockingly, it was our kindergarten. But also, if you have to read between the lines, we have kindergarten students that were in our behavior program with our self-contained integration room, and those referrals were a part of that. And I believe the kindergarten here, with the referrals that they had, I believe 5 students took about 75% of the referrals. So I just wanted to it was a little bit, it skews the numbers a bit. But again, overall, we had a nice 6th grade, even 4th and 5th grade. Overall, good year. Questions concerning my discipline report? And feel free, again, also, if there's other things that you'd like to dig into and ask me any questions, I'd be glad to email me, contact me, whatever you want to. Yep.
graph on that.
Well, except for the playground, yeah.
Well, playground's only down there, for example, halvesies of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because again, yeah, the playground it was just an increase, because the year before, there was hardly anything on the playground.
So is there anything we can do in the classroom as far as for more supervision, something different that would stem some of that? Because that's not just interrupting the kids in the playground, a couple too, it's taking the whole 26.
Yep.
or whatever.
And I understand, obviously, that's where the kids are spending the majority of their time is in the classroom. And again, we end up also having a bit of a skewing with some of the kids with the program with special education with behaviors. But what do? Yeah, the teachers, we work on our behavior strategies, our PBIS implementation's been, I think it's been done with a lot more fidelity. We've changed the program to make it, really to meet more of the teachers' needs.
And I'm
And I
assuming,
guess also classroom management, I think it's
Yeah.
overall pretty
and
strong
I'm
for a
assuming
teacher.
Renee's making more of a focus on some of that, I know from when she came earlier on some new programs and going to the classroom more and.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and we're doing, I guess one of the things also we finished up the year with is, Renee Negus mentioned about our close gap program, where the kids are doing automatic check-in to go and tell us about how they feel to start the day off. So again, that's some of the things that we did, and Mr. DeZeo especially, starting his day off, he was just trying to go and get with kids that were having meltdowns to start off the day. So that's something that we'll have to go and address for next year.
And we did, how many of your staff is now APL trained?
All but 3 from TK through 6th grade now.
So APL is another thing that we're trying to promote, the learning from the behavior that they're making so that they don't make it again. That's the hope, is the reteaching component of the behavior.
And if I had to say, again, with 135 majors, that's been, I thought that's been pretty good. I mean, when you think about 170 days of school, that's less than 1 major that we're having a day for all the kids in the school. So anyway, but that's something I think we always can improve upon.
You just want to do your
Just go
end
on
of year
with
two?
your-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been painting my house. My legs are getting a little shaky. I'm gonna pull up and have a seat here. Sorry, I've never used that excuse before, but I am. My legs are good. So check out my work in about a week here, but if you ever want to see how that's going for us anyway. Okay, into your report, a couple things I just want to go and allude to start off with the document over here. Again, preschool registration, you guys know that's all going pretty strong. One of the things that we'll need to do is we'll have to get with Mrs. Hoffmeyer's resignation that's upcoming, we're looking for a 3-year-old preschool para or doing some shifting around. Though that will be continuous. We don't know that, again, we have a couple students that you typically have move out and you move in, and but that's something that we'll need to go and address. But Mrs. Reichley has sent the letters home. We are going to be we'll be doing another letter after the 4th of July of the 3-year-old for the tuition. We're going to be always billing a month ahead of time. So we'll start on September 6th, it'll be due on August 1st, and then so on right after Labor Day is how we're going to collect the $150 and $20 for transportation. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of allude, I gave you a lot of statistics onto the next page with the summer school, but let me just go, again, summer school went very, very well. We had 50 students, grades K through 8th grade. The students all progressed. I never got called in for a discipline issue, an attitude issue. Never even had to even say anything for somebody to go and work harder. So again, summer school, the focus upon reading and math, and also I'd have to say kindergarten and 1st grade put a little bit more of a focus on their handwriting, also a part of this. But it worked very, very well. We had a very good summer school, and again, you can read onto the summer school report from each one of those teachers writing their reports. Students did well. When we're talking about words per minute, I mean, we look at like a 2nd grade, we're talking 14, 15 words. The students are all improving a lot with their fluency. And again, one of the things I can allude to also is like in the 5th grade, we decided even with math, the data showed us our kids that we had in there, which we had 6 students, division was the problem that they were having. We focused on division and really worked hard on it. And I think again, the teacher did all of our teachers did a very good job. And also we had 32 of the 50 kids not miss miss anything. And that was exceptional. That's the highest we've had. And again, it was nice that we can give them some recognition at the end, some prizes, and everybody, it was nice, Arnold's Park gave us some more. They gave, even our staff and everybody got buy one, get one free passes for them. So again, that was summer school. I'm gonna go back over to ISASP. I didn't report on ISASP last year, which Mrs. Phillips did. I did my report on the iReady and also the FASTA scores. Anyway, just want to put that in a synopsis here. If you want to read that, I guess one of the ways I just want to read this, where you can see this. Simply, if you can look at 2021, that's our third grade score in ELA, and this is now them as fourth graders. So you can move that corner to each one of these with math, also with our from our third graders going into the next grade level. You can see, again, we didn't know why, the year before, we remember it was kind of unusual when you look at the third grade, which is our current fourth grade, they were 81% basically in literacy, but only 45% in math. And anyway, we sure, I don't know if we had something with our curriculum or if it came from something before that with the second grade. But again, now we're looking at scores that we are pretty proud of. I know this school board typically, we want our kids to be in the 70s to 80%. If you look at our ELA percent with for the grades 3 through 6, we're at 76% for grades 3 through 6 with the English language arts, and our math proficiency is at 80%. And it's a nice step up. Those are some of the best scores that we've had since I've been here with our ISIS history anyway.
What's the percentages in the red? I don't quite understand.
The percentages, the percent growth. So these went up from 45 to 71, that's 26% growth. From 86 to 73, that's actually, we dropped 13% on our proficiency score by the grade level for that year. But good question, anybody? So overall for ISASP, we again, only one student I didn't get the reward for that, for meeting the honor code of doing the test with the teachers, reporting of doing the test to the best of their ability. And solid scores, we can continue to improve, especially with our English language arts. That is something that we got into just first year of our HMH reading curriculum. So we're already looking at changes of things that we need to do next year with trying to put more support into the classroom next year with our reading program.
So just so I'm catching this right, so fourth graders, this year they're fifth graders, they went down 13% in ELA.
Correct.
Okay.
And they went up 3% in math compared to the year before on the fourth grade test. Versus
And the
fifth grade.
timing of the test is about the same? Did we always do it in March or?
April.
We did ours in mid-April this time. Yep, I think we took it a little later the year before, so it's pretty comparable. Yeah. Okay. Also want to report with our fifth grade science, ISASP is 68% proficient. I believe the year before we were at 48% proficient. But again, that would be this year's sixth graders. That is fifth grade score. Last year was the sixth grade score, it was about 48%, I believe it was proficient. I take it back, 52 because the state was at 48. And we were just a little bit above that. But the sixth graders were not assessed on the ISASP science this year. They only get assessed in the fifth grade, eighth grade, and 10th grade years. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to the next section below that, the attendance rate. Our attendance rate sprang back up to a 95.3% proficiency. Surprising, again, we had strong attendance, but only 2 with perfect attendance. And we had 14 that either had a half or a one absence. And we still, when we kind of look back, I looked at like the COVIDs, we had 38 students that still, one missed 15 days due to the quarantining. But again, for the attendance, we still had to deal with that a bit. Okay, next page, I'm just gonna say, go ahead and just, I think the summer school report, just read through that yourself. Title, overall, I'd just like to go and report from title, and this came from Mrs. Porman and Mrs. Halverson. We served a total of 61 students. We felt we had a very good year with our title reading, and also this year we did math. We got back, the year before we did not do title math with it. You can see the numbers that we have Again, we had 10 first graders, I believe it was, I don't even remember, 14 second graders. Again, that's an at-risk group of students that we have. And then you end up seeing that we end up having 6 third graders. But we did service, I believe it was 10 fifth grade, 9 fourth grade students, with Mrs. Foreman and with Mrs. Halverson. We utilized our time with a lot of fluency, the comprehension strategies, and again, our students, you can see our data is, everything is it's improving. The kids are not hitting proficiency, but we're closing the gap from where it was, where the cut line is. We're closing that gap in that last year. Concerning math, again, I just wanted to allude to the fourth grade is where we, Mrs. Foreman, she ended up, so she was servicing, I believe it was 4 students in math and a lot of that was, again, classroom support. Working with the the Ready curriculum, and again, their diagnostic scores improved by those students by 31 points. English language learners, our LOW plan was updated and it's been edited, and we only had one student. And that one student was given the Alpha 21 and tested that they no longer needs services, qualifies for services. I'm sure by the time August and school starts back up, everybody will get their home language survey. I'm sure we're gonna have EL students. But I just want to say, technically at this time, we don't have any students, which is very, 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 very unusual. A couple things I just wanted to go, and Mrs. Halverson, again, worked with Mrs. Sherry Anderson, our Northwest AA consultant, and the LOW plan, really there was no changes whatsoever besides them talking about the Alpha 21, the testing that was being done. There was no mandates from the state or the federal government concerning English language learners. Okay. I guess I'm just going to go through overall my report here. Is that I thought our Wednesday PD was, I thought it was very strong. And we worked again with our professional learning communities. We end up having our Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt, our HMH literacy curriculum. We had time to go and really focus upon that training. We worked with Solution Tree and Mike Mathony, and especially our work that we did at least once, if not twice a month, probably starting about in December to the end of the year, was strong. Of doing that vertical curriculum integration and alignment, also the horizontal from the grade level teachers to the grade level teacher. Again, that was a huge focus that we had. Mrs. Negus and Mr. DeZeo focused numerous hours, especially the last, I'm going to say once we got to about February on PBIS. PBIS will be one of the big cornerstones of our PD coming up here for next year on Wednesdays. And also, again, we're developing consistent student expectations was our goal from preschool, from our 4-year-olds up to our 6th graders. Character education, just reporting out, again, I had that as a part of our discipline reports. But again, we did with Tier 2, again, if I'm a student, just make sure I'm not, I know we have new members that probably have not heard what our Tier 2 program is. If you're in a classroom and I'm your teacher, and all of a sudden you are not meeting benchmarks, you're falling behind, we will assess those students and we'll give them typically interventions, classroom help, but then also, but we may get to the point that that's not closing the gap. So we then utilize title, we utilize Mrs. Mimi Wagner, we utilize other staff, we utilized our after-school pause program to go and help those kids get more, that's Tier 2 interventions, to go and help them get back to grade level achievement levels. So again, we serviced 27 students were brought forward, and we served services, and were approved by the parents. Only 5 of those students did qualify for special education. So again, if a student is not if they're not improving with title, and even if that gap's getting wider, and sometimes that happens, they may have a specific learning disability, and that's how they qualify for special education. And I would take it back. We have four homeroom teachers that have not been trained in APL from TK through 6th grade. And again, our substitute teachers I thought did a really nice job. We had excellent staff attendance really until we had like 2 incidents happen with staff with long-term, with more of medical issues. That was like in our staff attendance was very, community outreach, parent-teacher conferences, again, were very well attended. PT, it was nice to go face-to-face, or also the parents, some of them requested Zoom, some of them request having a phone conference just to go and stay in contact. Emails, all those things. Our Veterans Day Assembly with the Prim Guard Legion members, that went very, very well. Again, our Fine Arts program, we had a shift of that with Mr. Krager and with Mrs. Myers coming up to school, the high school. We had great attendance. Our South O'Brien Facebook page, especially for our elementary, the likes, grandparents, they love those pictures and they like the communication, and it's something that you can hear that from the community members, they appreciate that. And also, again, we have numerous construction projects that are popping up. I forgot to mention also our preschool playground. That was so nice that we didn't have to send the kids to the nurses. I mean, that pea gravel, the kids weren't slipping. Soccer field, we got a real good fall out of it. Again, it's, for some reason, I don't know, it didn't come back this spring very well, but got a great fall out of it, so. But again, we're working on those things, and also our construction projects. Wow, the day after Memorial Day, I couldn't believe everybody showed up, and a lot of work. And feel free, please come into the building if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may take my chair if you wish.
I might actually, thank you. Okay, so end of the year, first of all, inside every time I presented at a board meeting, I did my report according to the goals. And so I just summarized those, I kept that as a running document, and that was actually, I think I sent that to Mr. Riley, but it was interesting to look at all the awesome things that we did do this year. So the first page is just simply just an overview of some of the things that we've already talked about. Academics, I did present the ISAS data last time, but I just want to point out, because I am proud of it, our growth this year was just phenomenal. So ranging from the 9.7 to 22.1, which was super exciting to see. So good news there. So any questions on the ISAS data? I know we talked about it before. But
So from a school perspective, I'm not, you're between 70 and 80% proficient. Is that what our goal is? Is that a good goal? Is that, where's that at?
You know, we always would like to get to 90s.
Right.
You wanna
Yeah,
get to
we wanna be
90s.
in the mid-80s.
we want them there.
We
We
want-
we'd like to get
We
up
wanna
there.
strive for that.
That's always our goal, you know, but from where numbers have been, I mean, it's definitely an uptick.
Okay.
We had
We'd like to keep pushing the envelope, but I think give the HMH a couple of years to really grasp on. I mean, 1 year of the new curriculum, we saw some gains, but let
But when you're hitting growth like that, that's
that is pretty
really
strong.
good.
there is
So if I see 60 next year,
that's not good.
That's
Okay.
not
We need to look at
good.
that.
Right, if we start seeing the
Yeah,
sixties,
but I
then
mean,
we better wonder what's
when you
going
look
on.
at, when you're just looking at like your growth
Right.
average by class, I mean, that's
Yeah,
good
okay.
growth. And you know, I'm just to be honest here, there's a couple math classes that did not have the growth that they should have had, but
Yeah.
I think with some changes being made there,
Sure.
I think we're really on the right path, so I'm excited about it, so.
thank you.
Yeah, you bet. High school eligibility data, that falls right along as well with lots of improvements. So ineligible 6.3 to 4.1, you can kind of glance through the data, but percentages looked really good there as well. Semester 2, and those numbers are really low. I mean, even the watch dropped down to 10.5% there, so. This was fun to compile. This is high school data. I did high school and then I did junior high. But this is the same group of students, just so you understand. So, like 12th grade last year, for example, in 2021, we had 5S semester 1 where we didn't have any this year. So, yeah, great. The only class that was still kind of high is that sophomore, but they still dropped semester 2 from 25 down to 10, and that was 3 kids. So, and I do have all 3 of those students are in Momentum for summer school for credit recovery. So, numbers are looking great there, you can see that. Moving on then to some junior high. Again, good numbers. The 7th grade, So, we are working on it, but, they're a work in progress, so. Numbers aren't quite as great for junior high. If you look by S though, seventh grade, I mean, they did well. I mean, as far as the actual failing goes, I mean, we only had 4 Fs for semester and 3. And then if you look at the eighth grade, the 25 to 10, so that was the same group of kids, but lots of drops. And again, you're looking at 10 and 17, we might look high, but it's just a handful of kids. Alternative school, that was just a summary of what we served. We served 11, 72 and a half credits earned back, and we did graduate all 5, so that was good. Exciting to see those kids walk across the stage. And they were very, very excited. College online courses, this is just trend. You can see, I mean, we have less kids than ever, but we had total enrollment numbers for semester was 48, so great numbers there. Lots of kids taking different classes. So there's actually 32 students that actually took a college class for a total of 48 classes is what that means there. So, any questions?
How are they doing on their college classes?
They all passed but 1 student. So. ACT scores, pretty close to what we've been doing. This is the only information I had was from 2020 and 2021 to compare with. I will continue to add on that so we can start looking at some trends as we move forward here. You can see there the math did drop again, but that class has had multiple math teachers and they've kind of been shifted around, and you can see the result of that. So. Discipline, I just can't say enough about our high school kids. I mean, the discipline was almost non-existent, as you can see. Our discipline's a little bit different than the elementary, but the asterisk there for the majors, those were suspensions. So first semester we had 7, second semester we had 3. This is just high school, like I said. Skipping was our highest, and that was along with the physical aggression without injury. But that 5, there. One student had 3 of those, so FYI. And then if you look at second semester, it dropped substantially. That person left, so there was only 1. And then the physical aggression without injury, that the 5, there was 1 kid there too that had 3. He moved. We're down to 1. So great data. At the high school level, like I said, very little to no discipline. What we deal with more at the high school level is maybe a little more of the social, emotional issues that we're now seeing. So, junior high, 4 suspensions. First semester 1, second. Disrespect was the biggest thing. Again, that's a lot of 7th grade mouths in the classroom towards teachers. That was the biggest issue. Dropped a little bit there second semester, but again, overall, that's pretty good. Any questions on discipline? I will say I went to the discipline grid, and that was the best thing I ever did because it took all the guesswork out of it. Consistency was easy. They came to my office, I just had to point at it, and this is what happens. It worked extremely well. The kids knew what was going to happen before it happened, and I literally would just call up the handbook and say, well, this is where we're at. So, and of course, we'd have a conversation about that. I did compile student involvement numbers for you just because I thought it would be interesting to look at. And again, we can continue to build on and start looking at trends as we move forward here. But our kids do a great job of getting involved, and we really do have a lot of things and opportunities for kids to get involved in, given the size district that we have. I really tried to focus hard on all activities and not just athletics this year, and we really tried hard to recognize all kids, whether it be at an assembly or individual notes in the lockers or whatever, but we really tried to make that all encompassing. So. Any questions for me on any of that? We had a great year. All right.
Thank you.
You bet.
So the next thing on there is the WOW plan. We don't need to approve it, but it's just, we have to present it, so it's there for you guys to look at.
Just to add, we did do the transition from Mrs. Halverson to Mrs. Lickett.
Yep, so they made that
everything has
transition.
been moved over. And
Yep,
So was there any other changes to it? I mean,
the WOW plan,
yeah,
there wasn't a lot of
okay,
changes to it.
is it in the future, I mean, if we could put it like in red or something, cause.
The changes, yes.
Yeah, cause I,
Yes,
It's typically how it'd be done, or a highlighter or something like that.
highlighted
Yeah.
the changes.
Yep.
Okay,
and then I have another question
Yeah.
on the law plan, is maybe sometime in the next year, I would like to see, I know tag was mentioned in here. Can we have a report on tag? We haven't had one for years, to my
sure.
knowledge.
We
Have we, Gina?
I think I can remember one time, and it was more of just pictures and.
I know that there's new
just
people
what they're working
here.
on and stuff.
Right, I mean, we've had new people and they may not even know what the
Okay. Yeah.
curriculum is about.
Or
so-
how we run it.
Right, so I think if we could have that in the next calendar year,
Yeah, we can do that.
thank you.
Okay, the junior high sports survey.
Okay, so at the last meeting, you guys had asked me to put together a survey. We had about 30 different families, 30 to 40 different families, respond, which is not real high, I mean, pretty low. But, when we did send it out, the first question that we had posed is, do you support implementing junior high athletic practices on Wednesdays for the 22-23 school year? And that came at about a 60-40 split. 60% in favor, 40% not in favor. I do have some of the, I gave them an opportunity to respond of what their questions were, so I do have a lot of those. I asked them for a pro and a con, because I wanted to think about both sides of this, not just I'm going in this, one side. So the cons is, here's a wide variety of things, but more practice time for athletics. Cons, not as much free time at home. Extra practice time if game is on Thursday. Con, church is normally right after school and don't have to be there. Increased practice time to benefit their skills. And then the con was need a place in between school and practice time. Let's see. Here's a pro is you'll get more practice time. Con is it might take away from homework time. And then pro, increased competitiveness with other schools who are likely doing this already. Con is an expense, reduced catch-up time for studies / homework. And those are just a sample size. There's other ones. I can give you the list if you would like to see it. The other question that we had is, would your students need a place to stay in school for the dismissal? Would they need someplace after school because school's over at 2 o'clock? 62% said yes, they're going to need someplace for their kid to go. 39 said no, they will walk home or do something if they live in Paulina or whatever. And then, would your student need transportation after practice on Wednesdays? 71 yes, 29 no. So that is the data that I've collected. This is, this is going to be a ton of work for the administration. Because my biggest concern with this, and I'm neutral on this, I do see both sides. I see the benefits of it, but my concern is the 2 to 345. We really need to have this planned out with what are we going to do with these kids. There needs to be, is that where we bring in people to talk to these kids? Do we have study halls? What do we have for these kids to allow them? Because my worst fear is that if we don't have something and they get in trouble outside of school when they're not supervised. That is one of my concerns. So this is going to take a team effort to really plan what can we do. I know a couple of coaches who aren't teachers had said that they would open up the weight room, supervise the kids, show them skills. That was one of the things. If there was any coach that could take them and start practice earlier, I guess my concern is I don't want to take away any professional development time. I feel like that is sending the wrong message to our staff to allow coaches to leave professional development and to go coach.
I like the fact that we have our professional development day on Wednesday, kind of throws a monkey wrench into
It does,
it.
and like I was talking to Aaron and Charlotte before, I mean, is this something that we consider moving professional development to Wednesday morning at some point? Do we do a 2 o'clock, 2-hour late start on Wednesdays for the next year? You know, but I've been a part of those PDs before, and when I was a teacher, the only thing I could think of is all the stuff I needed to be doing to get ready for school, you know, get ready for class, and it took away from. So I feel like if the board, you know, this is an agreement that we need to do, then I need to assemble my team, and we really need, and I'd like a couple people to even help us with some ideas. What do we do from 2 to 3:45? Because it needs to be planned out. Like how we do our professional development calendar, we have it scheduled out for the whole year. That's what probably needs to happen on these Wednesdays.
Right.
Just so that, and it has to be open to every kid. You know, and I want to reiterate that, because if we're going to bring somebody in to speak, every kid should have that opportunity to hear that as well. You know, and we thought, do we look at an extension of what Mrs. Phillips has done with Discover? Do we look at bringing some of those ideas into this? But then, what's the manpower? It's got to be our classified. That's what would have to be.
And
So-
currently we have classified professional development every other week.
Correct. So we talked about, you know, one thing that we could do there is we could split our classified in half so that we'd have some available help with supervision if kids chose to stay at school.
Well, and the other thought is, you know, we've started a discussion about it. We've had some good points to bring up. Is this a time we want to consider it right now, or do we want to keep exploring and figuring out some of the logistical things down the road? I mean, it's not like, I don't think that it was brought up to just go in. I think it was just brought up to consider,
To get public opinion first.
to get public opinion. That was a big step, and to see how it would affect the rest of what we have going on.
Yeah, I think approval needs to hinge on what, if there's success in brainstorming and coming up with good ideas and good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we have a very strong team. We can come up with things, but I'm just gonna say, it's gonna be thinking outside of the box to bring people in so that it's not a waste of our kids' time or my staff's time to sit there and
Right.
just watch them do homework. I mean, that's, you know, if there's a way that we could even have practice start at 3:15, well, that helps us out tremendously. Now we're only looking at an hour.
Right.
You know, just things like that would help out tremendously on us. And we haven't had conversations with each coach yet. You know, like head coaches and saying, could you, like Mark Furman just said that in passing to Kent DeZale, like, geez, if kids are done at 2, I can take them and we can look at doing some weightlifting things from 2 to 3:15. And it takes junior high kids forever to get their pads on, so
So
they can
basically,
actually,
you get 20 minutes.
so basically they would be ready for 3:45 is what, you know, is one of those things. But sending them to Primgar, I need to now not only organize something here, but now we got to organize something up there as well. And it can be done.
Your
I'm
fall
not-
season's here, so that'll be an easy one to start.
Correct. I'm not saying that it can't be done, guys. I'm just saying it's going to take a lot of work for my team to get this to move. That's what I'm saying. I've never been afraid to work. We will have a good plan if the board decides this is the direction we want to go. But I just want you guys to know that that is my biggest hesitation, is the 2 to 3:45.
But by next month, would you have some ideas of like an outline of a plan that we could say?
We could organize, if I could steal some of my team to, you know, this month of July is their month
Yeah.
off,
That's right.
Yeah.
you know, but I have ideas. I'm not saying that we don't. It's just that I would like to have the whole year planned out, like, if we're gonna bring in, like, Iowa State Extension Office to come speak to the kids on something.
You know, and another thought is, do you want to use this year to plan for next year? Instead of feel like it's thrown at you in your face, and is it something that we all want to continue to pursue? I mean, it's yeah, go ahead.
I don't think you can shut it down until you get a better idea of what it is
Yeah.
plans-wise. I mean, right now, we're not in a position to say yea or nay.
Right.
I think the fact that we don't have an activities director technically plays into it too, because I don't know what, from our last meeting, what Isaiah had presented, if there was anything done after that point, I don't know.
Yeah, and, you know, the person that we're bringing to you guys, the person that we're bringing to you guys this evening is a very seasoned person. He has a lot of great ideas. I think we could rely a lot on him to get this rolling. And he would, you know, the recommendation tonight is a July 1st start date for that individual. So, I mean, if the board approves that individual, I would feel a lot better giving you information in July than saying tonight. And like I said, I'm not afraid to do it.
And I want to clarify, we're really not going against any board policy on this at all.
Correct.
What is already has been established as board policy, this would not affect that.
No.
Because it's 6 o'clock.
Because it's after 6 o'clock, which doesn't affect what we would be talking
Correct.
about.
And we
So-
did have, I did have one conversation with a pastor, very concerned about this. He expressed some displeasure because I think he kind of changes his schedule to when the kids are out. But I asked him how long he needed. He goes 1 hour 15. Well, I said, well, that's perfect because 2 to
Because that's what our
3:45 is
So
open.
go do it.
So that wouldn't impact him, but his biggest concern was, when does it stop? And I said, well, I don't understand what you mean by that. When does it stop? Well, you're gonna keep pushing it. And I said, no, well, the bus is always leaving at 5 o'clock. We wanted consistency is why we're implementing
It
that.
wouldn't be any different than any other night.
Correct, and that's what I said, we're not gonna push it to 7 now. That's not something we would do. It's a 5 o'clock and that's when it's over, where the bus is rolling. So,
Basically, it's my understanding that we were all seeing if we could get another day of practice in because the junior high sports, you know, I know they're here for fall, but in winter and, you know, then they're traveling and they're missing time and coaches are saying we never get them long enough. And I mean, I think that was from the feedback from parents and coaches.
I'd like to see you work on it and see if we can get this done.
yeah.
I mean, if you're not if August 15th comes around and you're just not comfortable with it, then.
Yeah, I think I would feel better, you know, instead of making a decision this evening, if you guys would give me the next board meeting in
Sure.
July,
Yeah.
if we could come up with a formalized plan where you guys can see, kind of, like I said, that's just my biggest hesitation, is that 1:45, if we don't have something planned for these kids, and I don't even know how many kids it's gonna impact.
Right.
I really don't. Who's to say these kids don't go to somebody's house and there's gonna be a parent supervision there, but I would hate for something to happen where it was unorganized and then they say, well, you guys should have been responsible for that. It's like, well,
It'll be, I mean, if we roll that out, it'll be strongly publicized, I mean, parents will know that. So,
Correct.
I mean, there's a
we
certain
would, you know,
level of
and we would say,
responsibility.
here's what the activity on Wednesday is for these kids, you
Right.
know, this is what it's gonna be.
But it doesn't turn into a babysitting service for everybody else.
No, and I thought, you know, kids love for like maybe once a month, maybe we have an open gym where there's supervision.
Right.
Kids love open
They
gyms.
do.
I mean, we let kids go, I mean,
They do.
look at a Sunday night
Right.
at South O'Brien. I mean, kids love to go to an open gym, so, but I still think there's gotta be an academic component that I'd like to incorporate into that.
That would be ideal.
You know, where we can rely on community members maybe come in and give their,
Sure.
you know, their expertise on something as well.
Well, keep grinding.
Okay, give me another month so I can give you guys a better idea. I think that would really help.
And other schools as well that have this,
Yeah, so I have that data, so,
they may not have PD on Wednesdays.
you know, the ones that do, some of them cancel, they don't have it on those days.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know this firsthand, but like Cherokee, they do Wednesdays as well, but Cherokee is one town. It's all right
Right,
there.
there's no busing.
No.
It's all right there. That's the issue. When we're so spread out, I need something here for these kids that they don't have to leave.
And
That-
Marcus has Wednesday, every other PD, so then they have practices on the 2 Wednesdays.
So they have it twice a month?
Yeah.
It's a little extra. You know, but like some of these, you know, give me another month, especially if I can work with the new AD on some plans.
Would that also include a cost factor in this?
Yes, I would give you a cost factor as well.
Okay,
Sounds good.
good update.
Like a start.
All right, you can read Kent's report in there about baseball and softball. Some postseason in July and June 24.
Softball Friday opens tournament play here,
Yeah.
and then boys on Saturday at Alta. Just anybody can fit it into their schedule.
So is the Friday thing figured out, the girl? They had a game, I don't know.
Cancel that game since there's a tournament game. That takes a little priority.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Mr. Riley.
Okay. Summer projects, you know, this is probably seems like this is, I tell Charlotte this every year, seems like this is my busiest time of the year, which doesn't make any sense to anybody, but, just to try to keep everybody on pace, contacting people, like Mike said, we were fortunate enough the first day after Memorial Day, we had everybody in the facility, it was great to see. The problem is just making sure that it continues. So that's a continual call, but, carpeting projects are moving along. Painting, we have our team painting right now. They're painting a lot of the areas where the carpet has been placed. We did run into an issue up on the southeast corner of Primgar. We ran into, the tiles were popping like crazy. So what that means is we need to abate that area, because those are asbestos tiles in there. So that is gonna be an additional expense, because when they started pulling them, I mean, whole rows of tile were popping. So the area, if I'm talking, it's the 2nd through 4th grade wing upstairs. So it's like where Mimi Wagner is and Wendy Cyclica, and then we have an AEA room, and then where Natalie Rawlings used to be, which is now where Luann Foreman, and then those little title rooms on that other side. All that area there is where we've had the issues.
It's just different than years past when they've ripped up, when they've done this, they have been coming out there.
Yeah, downstairs they were able to do the patchwork. But when they said the whole rows are coming, they can't, it's not safe
Catch
for
that.
anybody for the abatement. So I have, been in contact with a company out of Norfolk, Nebraska. And they are supposed to be coming, next week to start the project and get that cleaned up, cause then the actual adhesive that they put the tile down on is like this black tar. It actually has asbestos in it as well. So they'll need to grind that down, and then we can go in there and roll. But that was a big snafu that we ran into, unfortunately. So, West Gym is tomorrow. The guy from Minneapolis will finish. So the West Gym, it will be done. There will be a 1 week of drying time. So after the 4th of July, students can go back in there and start working, and they don't need to use the little gym over here. They can use the West Gym. So if you get a chance, I got some pictures I can show you, but it looks pretty sharp. 3-year-old preschool room, moving along very nicely. They took all the wall out, and this week, here's kind of what their game plan is a lot of the framing's done this week. Next week's electrical and mechanical, and then the following week is drywall, and then should be ready to rock and roll. So, hoping to stay on. I talked to Jim today, and he's still saying that we're still on track. Plus good news. FEH, Matt Daisy, he is requesting another work session. Sometime in July. He has updated drawings that he'd like to show you guys. And then I also asked him to do a cost analysis of repurposing of the stage in Primdar. Instead of putting on a new stage here, to look at what a cost analysis is so that this board can make an informed decision on what would be most advantageous for the district. So I will keep you informed from Matt. He was gonna check his calendar and, I'll get you guys probably something this week so we can get something, written down with Matt. Teacher, paraeducator registered apprenticeship grant. We, did jump into the Siouxland Consortium there and, still trying to figure out, like, I reserved some certain spots, but we still have a little work to who all qualifies. I know they have to have an associate's degree. I did talk to both principals. We thought of a couple people that have associates, but a couple superintendents in the area are maybe only going to try one or two people to see how the program works this first year, and then see how it continues to evolve as time goes on. So we have one individual that I feel is a solid candidate, so we're gonna tackle into that and let him roll with the, this grant that, basically will allow our paraeducators to become teachers. It's supposed to help with the shortages that we have in the teaching world, education world. And then it's also a component of, students and how they can work through the transition. If they wanna become a teacher, here's the steps they can go through without all the cost on the backside. So, sounds great in theory. Hopefully we can make it work.
Yes.
That's my hope.
Okay.
Any questions?
Mrs. Phillips, yours was a little different, did you need to present, or the
Oh,
violent,
you
the
wanna do
violent, the violent thing?
My
or-
June,
Yeah.
I can do that. Wanna pull it up, Wade?
Sure can.
I did not do my June with the end of the year, is that what you're talking about?
I didn't know if you wanted to.
I
read
can
it,
certainly,
so-
I have it, it's right here, we can go over it. So again, I always do mine according to our goals. So first one, community, some of you are aware, I can't remember the community works here, but, we did the active shooter, violent person. It was a full-on exercise, there was lots of, heat team was here, Osceola Sheriff's Department, O'Brien County, town cops, emergency management system from multiple areas. So anyway, a lot of people were here. It was actually like a training exercise for them, more than it really was for us. But it was interesting to sit back and observe.
I think there was
Coming into the
probably 80
Oh, yeah,
80
wow,
people that took
definitely.
place.
The heat team alone was 20, we counted, wait,
Yeah.
21,
Yeah,
I think 22.
21, 22.
Yeah, that all came in the back door with that. It was kind of interesting to see and so forth. And they did exercises like upstairs, like in the former junior high. That's kind of like the staging area that they use for one of the exercises. So they were all over the building, and it was interesting to see. And it lasted. They arrived like at 2:30, 2:45, and I think I left here about 6:30ish. So they spent quite a bit of time here. So that was interesting. We even had some former students here, so that was fun to see them involved in different emergency management systems. So climate and culture, we did do a staff farewell event for those that departed here at South O'Brien, and then we ended our year with a final social. We worked hard with the climate and culture this year, and I know the staff has really appreciated that. So, and then academic, we had 37 students that graduated, 36 walked across the stage. 6 students attended summer school from the junior high. Unfortunately, our baseball, softball program at the junior high level competes with summer school at this age. And so that's always tough for us. We had like 13, I think, that we recommended, but the rest that did not attend, they wanted to play ball, which I can understand as well. And ultimately, that is a parent-student choice. So that's why we are where we're at with the 6. Credit recovery, kind of talked about this a little bit in the end of the year report, but we have 10 students, 9, 12 that are taking advantage of credit recovery, and we are using Inventum for that. And I actually just checked that this afternoon, and all of the students, with the exception of 1, are making good progress there. So, and not only are the instructors making contact with parents and students, but I have been as well. I made myself the admin of it, so I've been observing and making sure that they're making progress. And if not, reaching out to questions about June? It was short and sweet, but there's not a lot happening in June, so.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we don't have any recognitions yet. Season's still in swing. No unfinished business, so new business. Consider approval of sale of bus bids.
We had, for the sealed bid, we had one bidder, Brenda Cruz, for $751.
Salary made, I guess. It's time. Let's go to camper. Out of the bus.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Beth, second by Sue.
You wanna run?
Don't move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Happy
She
campers.
abstained.
She abstained, yes. Okay, consider approval of resolution adopting hazard mitigation plan.
So we have a resolution, Jared Johnson, I'm working a lot with him since we had the heat team in here, but we needed to, update a copy of the hazard mitigation plan for O'Brien County. So we'll need to have somebody read this resolution, and then we'll get that signed, because through FEMA, this is a thing that we have to, adopt.
Somebody?
I think it's John, he gets
I
always.
think John's ready to roll.
So John has learned that is
Yeah. A resolution of the School Board of South Bryan CSD adopting a hazard mitigation plan for Sue O'Brien, Osceola County. Whereas the School Board of South Bryan CSD has authorized the development of a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan for Sue O'Brien and Osceola counties, and now therefore be it resolved that School Board of South Bryan CSD herewith adopts said plan incorporating comments and recommendations.
Okay, motion by John. Second by Brenda. All those in favor say aye.
roll call.
Aye.
Oh, sorry,
Roll
roll
call.
call. Apologize.
Okay, John Beck,
Aye.
Brenda Cruz. Aye. Sue McCauley. Aye. Gina Paulson.
Aye.
Richard Radke.
Aye.
Josh Young.
Yeah.
Okay. Josh Roush. Beth Stephen Aller Woodall.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Passed and adopted this 27th day of June. Okay, next item, consider approval of fundraisers.
Yep, the ones that are bolded are the new ones for this year. We have two new ones on there, we have cheer and dance,
Windows.
paint windows for homecoming, and then, the other one was elementary art, like a roller skating night and selling concessions, baked goods and smoothies. The roller skating rink, guys, that was a nice hit for the kids again to have that
Yeah.
back open, so.
Yeah, that's nice.
That really was the kind of the hot spot, for these kids, so, the idea with the elementary art budget is, we've had a tendency in the past to go over budget, so we really nipped that in the bud and we said, this is what it's gonna be, if you want additional, you'll need to do a fundraiser, so this was an idea that she had, and I think it would take off, I think there's a lot of good things out of that, especially the amount of kids that I've seen at that roller skating rink. So those are the additions.
Okay, motion to approve the additional fundraisers
So moved.
by Sue,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Consider approval of 2022-2023 registration fees.
The only change that we had to this was the state of Iowa has made the recommendation to increase, adult meal pricing, from $3.85 to $4.13.
They just keep
99.
changing that like every year. It keeps going up
They
every
do,
year.
so we're making the recommendation this evening, instead of the $4.13, the $4.15, and so we're making the recommendation to change that to $4.15, per adult meal, which is really pretty close to the recommendation from the the state of Iowa.
Otherwise, everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
Move to approve the fees.
Okay, motion by Sue,
Second.
second by Brenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Consider approval of 2023 driver's education fees.
On the bottom here, $360 for in-district residents and $435 out-of-district residents with a $50 deposit. We increased that 2 years ago, and this is pretty much in line with a lot of the other districts around us at $360. I will let you guys know, last year was the lowest enrollment we've had for quite some time. So if numbers keep going down, we may need to look at other options.
Well, and is
That
it
has to
because
be
of the
law.
online
Yes.
piece? Was there
It
a lot of
is.
parents that took advantage of that?
It is, and some people are doing like those deluxe driving services and just doing it when they turn right away. So I don't know if this is gonna become a thing of the past.
Well, right, it all depends on how they handle it at the state
Correct.
level.
So I just wanted you guys to be aware that we did see a large decrease.
Mhm. Yeah, I looked at the numbers or something, I saw, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Move to approve those fees.
Yep.
Okay, motion by Sue,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Consider approval of the preschool, elementary, secondary student parent handbooks and coaches handbook.
So last year, we made drastic changes to all the handbooks. Tremendous changes to all of them that hadn't been touched in quite some time, so I tasked my principals with redoing them. So there is not hardly any changes on this year. You have one.
The big thing would be at the 4-year-old preschool because we went to half days now,
Oh,
so AM
sure.
and PMs. All the language I got changed in the handbook had to do with getting
That.
transportation. Kids are going to school now Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I just wanted to let you know, that was the biggest change.
Yep.
There, in the elementary handbook, there was
Okay.
zero
No
changes
changes. 'Cause they-
besides. I just need a couple-
They both did a great job, and they had their teams assembled last year, and we did the whole thing, so that's why there wasn't a lot of changes, if you guys wanted to know.
And you'll get a 3-year-old handbook once we get approved in August.
Yep.
Which won't be very much different than the 4-year-old handbook. Just to give you a heads up, but Nancy Stoll and I have been starting over that.
All right, so very little changes. Need a motion to approve those.
High school one didn't change.
The only thing in the high school that changed was the the junior open campus. I added that in the handbook. We did it this past year. I don't know if you remember me talking about this, but I had a group of juniors that approached me and had asked for open campus privileges second semester, and I approved it. And so, anyway, that is now in the handbook as far as the requirements.
Those criteria, I mean.
So the criteria, yeah.
So like academic requirements before they
That,
can be.
yes, and tardies, I mean, there's
Yeah.
attendance,
There's
there's, yes,
everything.
like, it's the same, yeah, it's all in there, but I just put it in the handbook as it was not last year, so that was the change.
And coaches one similar to?
No changes.
Motion to approve the handbooks?
Okay, motion by John,
Second.
second by Beth. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, Sue, sorry, you two over there sounding the same. And Sue, apologize. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, personnel.
Okay, we've been hiring, which is good. We have a lot of openings, so, resignations, we had Kent DeZeo, activities director, PK through 12 interventionist, and then, Ro Hoffmeyer, lunch secretary, and, preschool paraeducator.
We'll do that first.
Yeah, we'll do them first.
Motion to accept the resignations?
Motion to accept by John.
Second.
By Sue.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, and on to the appointment of staff.
Like I said, initially, we've been trying to get some of these shored up here. This will take care of a big chunk of it. We still got a little more work to do, but make the recommendation for Heath Reichley as activities director, Michael Hoffmeyer, PA building custodian, DJ Lodi, junior high assistant baseball coach for this season. He's been helping out with that, so we'll need to, I talked to Aaron about how we're gonna handle that. And then assistant football coach, he's been helping out the junior high. And then junior high wrestling coach, because we did lose Mr. Bonner. And then Janie Rushton, junior high volleyball. Lincoln Robinson, junior high football. Junior high boys basketball coach. Kevin Pecos, junior high football coach. Thomas Nelson, assistant football coach. Chad and John Negus, volunteer football coaches. They've done it for a long time. Becky Lickus, high school speech coach. And then Kim Pecos and Liz Reichley as summer technology support, basically only for the month of July. He's got a lot of things that need to be moved, updated. When class lists get out, we got to get the right computer to the right spot. So he's thinking half days, nothing more. It's going to be pretty precise on what they're going to be doing this year. And then I did have on there the asterisks if we made that decision tonight that would it be the board's recommendation to consider a 20% increase on junior high athletics. Obviously that's not on the table this evening, but just to be thinking about if we when I bring this back to you guys in July.
What positions do we still have open then?
Well, we have head baseball, we have assistant boys basketball, we have a volleyball, high school volleyball assistant job. What else do we have? Junior high track. Is there anything else? We talked about this today. Is there anything I forgot? Oh, and then dinner theater co-director with Mr. Krager. He would like somebody else to help too. They liked that with Mrs. Pingree this last year. We will update the list. I can
Sure.
send it out to you if you want.
No, it's fine, I was just.
We'll post it tomorrow. We'll have it
Yeah.
updated. It's gonna be
Out
nice to
there.
delete 20 openings.
Yeah.
So a motion to approve employment of staff
So moved.
by Beth. Second, Brenda. By Brenda, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, and we have, communication, ISB.
Or the official thing.
What?
Got official pay on there too.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, that's why I missed it.
Well, it's in the personnel.
It's a second attachment.
Second attachment
Oh,
of personnel.
it wasn't on my copy here,
Correct.
that's why I missed
Yep.
it. Okay, official pay, sorry.
Yep, and this is pretty much in line with neighboring districts
Okay.
of what they're paying. There is a drastic shortage in officials. Another thing that we're considering is a possibility of even doing a class here to train some of our own high school kids to be officials, so we can use them for junior high sports, but we need to be thinking outside of the box, because a lot of schools are canceling games because they don't have officials, and that's just sad to see, so. We need to be a little bit more creative, so we'll think outside the box too here on that.
Well, this is the first step. If we're not competitive with anyone else around, they're not coming here.
Correct.
And gas.
And gas.
Some schools are providing
Incentive.
How about a hamburger?
at least a
instead?
couple bucks, you know, they're not necessarily going the mileage route, but they're getting.
So much at event.
But I think this is good stuff.
Motion to approve officials pay.
Okay, motion to approve by John,
Second.
second by Beth.
That was me
Two.
too.
Man, you guys really sound a lot alike. All
Well,
those
sit
in
by each
favor
other.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Sorry about all the flub-ups tonight. I didn't look up. All right, now communication, IASB, you all know where that's at. Just so you know, I listened to about 4 podcasts you'll be hearing my summary in our next thing coming
There
up.
we go.
Has to do with our